Hello, friends. Welcome to the Environment and Transportation Committee. Today is March 31st, 2026, and we will mostly be hearing Senate cross files today, and we will start with the Chair of JPR's departmental bill, motor vehicle administration identification cards, licenses, and permits, repeal of color photograph requirements, Senate Bill 0087. Ms. Neiser, whenever you are ready.
Well, good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Thank you for your time today. For the record, Chrissy Neiser, Motor Vehicle Administrator, here to testify in support of Senate Bill 87. This committee already heard its companion bill, House Bill 248, which passed unanimously out of the House. As a quick reminder, Senate Bill 87 removes the current requirement to include a color photo on the driver's license, ID card, or moped operator's permit. As a result of the current law, we do have that color photo on the back of the license. Color photo is not required for real ID, and so removing this requirement keeps us in good shape with our real ID requirements. Modern technology allows law enforcement access our color photo, which will still be taken and maintained in our databases. By passing Senate Bill 87, we can reduce costs, which is always a good thing because it does add to our production cost by about $200,000 to do a color photo. Again, this passed unanimously in the Senate without any amendments. For these reasons, I respectfully ask your favorable consideration.
All right, thank you. Well, we can't ask for a better hearing than that. Seeing no questions, we'll move on to your next bill. That's Senate Bill 125, Vehicle Laws, Transfer of Used Vehicles, Repeal of Notarized Bill of Sale Requirement.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Again, for the record, Chrissy Neiser, Administrator, Motor Vehicle Administration, and I'm here to testify in support for Senate Bill 125. Again, you've already heard the companion bill. That was House Bill 251, which passed unanimously out of the House. Senate Bill 125 removes the mandate that a notarized bill of sale be presented when titling a used motor vehicle if the car is less than 7 years old and being sold at least $500 less than the retail value. This is, again, an efficiency issue to allow us to remove that step in the process. It also facilitates our move towards electronic titling, which is the development where you can exchange titles electronically, so it allows our customers more efficiently as well as securely being able to title their vehicle. It takes away that burden from the customer of having to get the notarized bill of sale, and similar to its companion bill, Senate Bill 125 passed unanimously out of the Senate without any amendments. For those reasons, I would respectfully request favorable consideration and happy to answer any questions.
Another great hearing. Thank you so much, Ms. Neiser. Seeing no questions from the committee, that will end the hearing on Senate Bill 125. And is Ms. Mueller here? For our last departmental bill, we have Senate Bill 149, Vehicle Laws, Heavyweight Port Corridor Permits, Regulations. And you may begin whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Guyton and members of the committee. For the record, I am April Moeller, Director of Government Affairs at the Maryland State Highway Administration. I'm here to request your favorable report on Senate Bill 149. Senate Bill 149 is in the same posture as HB 253, which passed this committee in the House unanimously. This is a departmental bill that would repeal the requirement for MDOT to adopt emergency regulations for route changes for overweight vehicles traveling under the heavyweight port corridor permit. This will enable SHA to respond quickly to reroute freight during emergencies, reducing delays of freight movement in and around the Port of Baltimore. This bill does not override any truck routing restrictions put in place by local jurisdictions for local routes. SHA has coordinated with the Maryland Port Administration, Trade Point Atlantic, Ports America, and the Maryland Motor Truck Association on this legislation. With that, I ask for your favorable report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, seeing no questions, another terrific hearing today. And ENT, thank you. That ends the hearing on Senate Bill 149. We'll move on to Senator West now. Senate Bill 936, Vehicle Laws, Bus Obstruction Monitoring Systems and Bus Stop Zones. Sounds very familiar to this committee. And Senator, you may begin whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's nice to see you sitting in that seat. Some of the committee members may not know that the Madam Chair is one of my 3 delegates. So it's nice to see my delegates moving up in the world. Yeah. So this is Senate Bill 936. It passed the House the Senate 32-10. The companion House crossfile, House Bill 1113, passed this committee 14-4 and passed on the House floor 104-29. So you'll probably remember the bill. The bill updates and strengthens Maryland's vehicles laws relating to bus obstruction monitoring systems to include enforcement of bus stop zones. Currently, based on a 2024 law, local jurisdictions and transit agency has the option to operate bus-mounted automated systems to enforce parking restrictions in dedicated bus lanes. That law also permits enforcement of bus stop illegal parking, but only in bus stops adjacent to a dedicated bus lane. In real world, that means that very few bus stops across the state may be protected against illegal parking because there are very few dedicated bus lanes. In our district, the chair's district, vice chair's district and mine, I'm not sure we have any dedicated bus lanes. There are very few in Baltimore County. I think they're more in Montgomery County. But it's hard to calculate, but it's likely that less than 1% of the state's bus stops are protected under the current law. The existing statute renders the vast majority of the system open to parking in bus stops, leaving bus passengers, including many disabled and senior passengers, at the risk of being unable to board or exit a bus safely. This committee has heard testimony in previous sessions from disability advocates about the dangers of illegal parking in bus stops. When a bus is blocked by illegal parking and can't pull up properly to a bus stop sidewalk, the bus must board or accept riders in the street, where the gap between the bus and the street surface is significant, making it particularly difficult and dangerous for disabled and senior riders to get on and off the bus. Wheelchair users in particular may choose not to board because of fear that the wheelchair ramp may tip backwards on a steeper boarding ramp. In D.C., after bus stop enforcement on routes was implemented, those routes saw a 10% increase in wheelchair deployments from buses. So what does this bill do? It updates the law to replace references to a bus lane monitoring system with a bus obstruction monitoring system and establishes clear rules for enforcement in bus stop zones when transit vehicles are present. Most importantly, the bill prohibits stopping, standing, or parking a vehicle in a bus stop zone when a transit vehicle is present unless either the driver has been authorized to stand, stop, or park there, or unless the driver is actively loading or unloading passengers, in which case the vehicle's hazard lights must be on. In this way, the bill provides clear expectations for motorists and improves safety for transit riders and pedestrians. So the bill modernizes Maryland's traffic enforcement framework to reflect the realities of transit and to support safer, more efficient bus stop access. It strikes a balance between enforcement with fair notice and upholding the privacy of motorists. As I indicated earlier, it passed on a 32-10 vote in the Senate, and I'm afraid members of my party were the 10. But it had amendments, and the amendments add language defining a bus stop zone as part of the road used to pick up and drop off passengers from a bus or transit vehicle, and it includes 3 types of places. A stop that's marked by signs, pavement markings, or shown on a bus transit map. B, a bus transit station. And C, a transit corridor, as already defined in state law. I appreciate the committee's consideration of the bill and be happy to answer any questions about it.
Delegate Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator, for bringing this bill.
Happy to do it.
I'm happy to be the cross-file on this bill, and I understand exactly what the intent of the bill is. I just want to make sure I understood that in the Senate, this bill with the amendments did pass the Senate, non-unanimous. But could you explain what the opposition was to the bill on the Senate floor?
Frankly, there was no opposition. On the floor, there was nobody commented on the bill. There was no discussion of the bill. I'm afraid 1 or 2 of my members, my party's members, put up red votes and others followed along. I'm not sure exactly why they did it because nobody ever came to me and said they had a problem with the bill.
Great, thank you.
In the Senate committee, there was no organized opposition either. There were a few people who asked for amendments, and there's an amendment which accomplishes some of what was asked. And so the committee, do I have the committee? I don't have the committee vote, I'm afraid. But it was largely along the lines of the Senate floor vote, namely members of the Democratic Party voted yes, I voted yes, maybe one or two Republicans in my committee voted no.
Great. Thank you again for bringing the bill. Thank you, Madam
Sure.
Chair.
Delegate Jacobs.
Thank you. So, Senator, I'm looking at the fiscal note, and it said transportation trust funds expenditures may increase significantly. And I'm just wondering if any of your amendments address the fiscal summary.
No, they don't, and our committee was not required to go back to our Budget and Tax Committee to get permission for this. So there was no dollar value indicated as to how much we're talking about adding stop signs or bus zone signs along the sides of the roads, and perhaps the cameras. But there already are cameras permitted under existing law. So there's nothing in the bill that requires additional cameras to be added to buses. So I'm not sure on what basis they say the expenditures could increase significantly. Suffice it to say, we didn't have to go back to Budget and Tax to get permission to spend money when we passed this bill.
So what was the fiscal note?
I don't know. I've had a couple of fiscal notes this year, and it's been a mystery to me as to why the notes read the way they did. Perhaps the delegate can answer that question. I see
Delegate
your
Lewis.
notes on it.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to my committee colleague. I have to put this in the form of a question.
Sure.
I'll give you grace.
Just say, isn't it so at the end?
Isn't it so, Senator West, that there have been federal dollars available to pay for bus technology upgrades?
I believe that's correct, but I'm not on the Budget and Tax Committee, so I'm not, I don't wear blue eye shades.
Okay. And does this bill require the MTA and local transit agencies to purchase and install bus cameras, or is it enabling?
This is, this bill doesn't affect that. This bill amends an existing statute, which is quite lengthy, and establishes the parameters of cameras on buses for dedicated bus lanes. All this bill does is add bus stops in undedicated bus lanes to the existing language. So the existing language goes into great detail about how the system works.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Do you have another? No. All right. Thank you very much. Delegate Naraki.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. Senator, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you.
How would this work with respect to, I understand loading and unloading of passengers. How does this work with respect to unloading goods, right? Say there's a UPS truck that has to pull up and unload a package. Say that there is construction material that needs to be delivered to a job site. How does this work with respect to that?
The only exemptions are the ones I indicated. Either you have a permission that you've gotten from the local jurisdiction. It's possible for that kind of an unloading. They would get permission to stop in the bus stop, or you have to be unloading passengers. So if someone wants to unload bulk cargo, they would have to find a different place to park. And
What if there is no other place to park, though, Senator? I can think of some examples in some areas where there, some streets there just is not. So I'm just curious what happens there, because we've had other bills like this where we have made exceptions for unloading of goods and things like that. Not for the whole day, but you have a moment to get those off the vehicle.
Like a Federal Express truck or something.
Exactly.
Exactly. I can't tell you how many times I have seen double parked Federal Express trucks in the passage lane. That happens all the time. What this bill would indicate is if a Federal Express truck were to stop in a bus stop zone, that they could be ticketed.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Seeing more questions, that ends the hearing on Senate Bill 145. Thank you so much, Senator West. I hope that you will support other similar public safety bills coming before you in the Senate soon. One of which that Naraki just mentioned obliquely. So we'll move on now to Senator West's other bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Senate Bill
145, motor vehicles and marine vessels transfer on death designations. Go ahead, sir.
This is a terrific bill that passed the Senate 42-0. The identical bill, without any, it's absolutely identical, passed the House. It's House Bill 174. 136 to nothing. So neither of these bills had any opposition. I can briefly explain the bill to you. It's one of the bills I agreed to sponsor this year on behalf of the Estates and Trust Committee of the Maryland State Bar Association. That committee, as you probably know, represents all the estates and trust lawyers across the state, and they spend a lot of time each year researching this and coming up with good improvements to Maryland's estates and trust law. Volume, by the way, is quite thick, largely because of the improvements made over the years by the Estates and Trust section and passed by this body. So the subject of this bill is what happens to motor vehicles and vessels after the owner of the vehicle or vessel dies. Currently, Maryland law provides that an individual who is the sole owner of a motor vehicle may designate a beneficiary in the Motor Vehicle Administration system. This so-called transfer on death, or TOD designation, will then appear on the certificate of title for the motor vehicle. And upon the death of the sole owner, the vehicle will not be a part of the probate estate. Instead, the beneficiary can retitle the motor vehicle directly through the MVA. Avoiding probate in these situations is convenient and enables the heirs of a decedent to get on with their lives quickly without the hassles of dealing with the probate court. Other assets that can pass automatically without going through probate, if properly titled, are checking accounts, savings accounts, brokerage accounts, and personal residences. So turning to vessels, the law in Maryland currently fails to enable the owner of a vessel to designate a beneficiary and thereby avoid probate as to the vessel after the death of the owner. This bill, Senate Bill 145, has been introduced to deal with two issues. First, under the motor vehicle laws, if a vehicle is owned by two people, either as joint tenants or tenants by the entirety, there is no mechanism in the law at this time for them to designate a beneficiary and thus avoid probate at the death of the survivor of the two co-owners. Second, the owner or owners of a vessel have no mechanism available to them at all to designate a beneficiary and thereby avoid probate. So what does this bill do? It rectifies the situation by authorizing the sole owner or the co-owners of a marine vessel to apply the Department of Natural Resources to designate a beneficiary to take ownership of the vessel upon the death of the sole owner or upon the death of the survivor of the co-owners. The bill also alters transfer on death designations for motor vehicles to allow two individuals who co-own a vehicle to designate a beneficiary who, once again, will take ownership of the vehicle upon the death of the sole owner or upon the death of the survivor of the co-owners. If passed, this bill will save both time and money for the beneficiaries of Maryland estates, enabling vehicles and vessels to pass to beneficiaries in the same way that bank accounts and brokerage accounts and residences can currently pass to beneficiaries without going through the time and expense of probate will be a salutary development. Again, the bill passed unanimously in the Senate. The Crouse file passed unanimously here in the House, and I appreciate the committee's consideration of the bill. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator. Seeing no questions, that ends the bill hearing of Senate Bill 145. And we'll move on to Senator Attar, Senate Bill 877. I'll hand it back to my chair.
Thanks so much.
If he wants it. Oh, he doesn't want it. Great.
I want it, but you can take it down.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
He will claim it back at some point.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members.
Welcome, Senator. You may begin.
Thank you. So Senate Bill 876 may sound familiar to you all because a couple of years ago we passed legislation that created a pilot program for stop signs. There are cameras that go on stop signs if people are rolling through. It created it for Prince George's County and Tacoma Park, the city of Tacoma Park. Last year, there was legislation that would include two legislative districts in Baltimore City, legislative districts 45 and 46 into this pilot program. This year, this piece of legislation would just include my legislative district, District 41, into this pilot program, and you should have received a letter of support from the Baltimore City House delegation, and I ask for your favorable support. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no questions, that ends the hearing for Senate Bill 877. And do we have any other senators in the House at this moment? Okay, so what's that? All right, I hear Senator McCrae's aide is with us. Can you identify yourself? Would you like to present? All right, you may come up and we will be hearing. Senate Bill 698 by Senator McCrae, dangerous accumulations of snow and ice, removal from exposed vehicle surfaces. This is one that we remember well. Whose law? Lily's Law. All right, and you may begin whenever you're ready, sir.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Gregory Ball. I'm an intern for Senator McCray. He apologizes for his absence, and we respectfully request a favorable vote on Senate Bill 698. This bill was previously heard by this committee as a cross-file with Delegate Patterson's House Bill 474, where it was passed favorably with 127 votes in favor in the House, and we ask for your continued support. Senate Bill 698 has the potential to significantly reduce the number of motor vehicle accidents during the winter season by prohibiting individuals from operating or towing a motor vehicle without removing any potentially dangerous accumulations of snow or ice from all reasonable surfaces of the vehicle. Thank you.
Right. Seeing no questions, that ends your hearing on Senate Bill 698. And if you'd like to, you can continue with Senate Bill 111, which is vehicle laws, out-of-state vehicles, and proper registration.
All right. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. For the record, once again, my name is Gregory Ball, an intern for Senator McCray. We respectfully request a favorable vote on Senate Bill 111. This bill was previously heard as a cross-file with Delegate Addison's House Bill 212, where it was passed favorably with 114 votes in favor, and we ask for your continued support. Senate Bill 111 addresses improper out-of-state vehicle registrations by establishing a clear process to identify violators, giving individuals 60 days to come into compliance, and creating reasonable enforcement measures for those who fail to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Seeing no questions, that ends the hearing on Senate Bill 111. Do we have any other senators or Senate aides ready to present to us? Right, you may come forward. Tell me your name and the senator you're representing, please.
George Glassman for Senator Gallion.
Terrific. Come on forward, Mr. Glassman. And we'll be hearing Senate Bill 968, and that is Education School Bus Fire Safety Standards. And you may begin whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and ENT Committee members. For the record, Jordan Glassman representing Senator Jason Gallion to introduce SB 968, Education School Bus Fire Safety Standards, as a practical step to support school bus driver recruitment and retention in Maryland. Across the state, school system and contractors are struggling to recruit and keep qualified drivers. One consistent issue raised by drivers, many of whom are in their 50s and older, is seat comfort. Current requirements for fire block upholstery on driver seats can result in stiff, uncomfortable seating that drivers must use for extended periods each day. In practice, many drivers are already working around this issue by placing blankets, towels, or aftermarket cushions on their seats to improve comfort. This is not an ideal or standardized solution, and it undermines the intent of current policy while creating inconsistency in the field. SB 968, as amended, addresses this directly by removing the fire block requirement for the driver's seat only, while maintaining all existing protections for student seating. This targeted change gives school systems and contractors flexibility to provide ergonomically appropriate seating that better supports driver health, comfort, and job satisfaction. Importantly, this approach aligns with evolving safety guidance. The National Congress on School Transportation, or NCST, no longer recommends applying this standard to driver seating, recognizing the distinct function of the operator seat compared to passenger seating. It's important to note also the bill improves consistency across Maryland's fleet. The current law applies fire block requirement to Type 1 buses, which is over 15,000 pounds, but not to Type 2 buses, which are under 15,000 pounds. SB 968 would help harmonize standards and eliminate confusion by clarifying that the requirement should not apply to the driver seating regardless of vehicle type. At a time when Maryland faces ongoing driver shortages, this is a low-cost, common-sense change that removes a barrier to recruitment and retention without compromising student safety. The bill was unanimous in the EEE committee and on the Senate floor. I respectfully ask for a favorable report on SB 968. Thank you.
Thank you. You may continue.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair. Okay. Good afternoon, Vice Chair Guyton and committee members. I'm Steve Nelson. I'm a school bus contractor in my 47th year. I operate 15 buses in Harford County. I'm also the president of the Maryland School Bus Contractors Association. As Jordan has said, this is strictly for driver retention and comfort. A driver that's, like myself, well past 71%, spends 6-7 hours in a bus seat that's vinyl with Kevlar backing. It does not breathe. You start getting moisture where you don't want moisture after 7 hours, believe me. So this is really has no cost benefit. There again, it's the seat covering is actually a little cheaper, but that doesn't matter. It's the comfort for the drivers. We would not propose anything that would compromise safety. So this is just strictly comfort for the driver, for retention, and we would like to have a favorable outcome.
Hi, everybody. Marty Lostrom, Executive Director of the Maryland School Bus Contractors. As Steve said, the origination of this bill actually came out of the MDOT MVA School Student Transportation Advisory Committee. We meet quarterly, and this was something that came out of last year's National Congress on Student Transportation in Iowa, that this regulation was kind of made to be at the discretion of the states, but only recommended for passenger seats. A passenger, as Steve mentioned, a bus driver is going to be on the bus 7 to 8 hours a day. A passenger is about 45 minutes on average. So there's a big difference in it, and it's much more important when you cannot see what's going on sometimes in the back of the bus, if somebody's playing with a lighter or matches, that you would want the fire retardant seats back there. Whereas at the bus driver, that's just not the case. So this is a very simple request, one that we can make consistent across all of our fleets, across both the public school system and the contractors, and we ask for a favorable representation.
Thank you so much. You have one virtual witness. Do we have Mr. Groff from my favorite county public school system? That would be Baltimore County, folks.
Well, thank you for that, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the committee. So my name is Michael Groff, for the record. I'm with Baltimore County Public Schools, and we oversee a fleet of 1,000 school buses between public-owned and contractors. And we just wanted to also show our support for this bill. We think that it would align with the national standards and also provide some comfort for our drivers. In partnership with the contractors, the other fleets around the counties. I think this is a good, simple, easy move for everybody. And there's no harm in this, and it would align the current regulations to be consistent with our different types of school buses. So to keep it short and sweet, we thank you, and we hope for your support in this.
Thank you so much. Great testimony. We have a question from Delegate Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I realize Senator Gallion is being represented by his staffer. You did a good job. Thank you. I am very interested in this bill. It makes sense to me. I appreciate the gentleman with the 47 years of experience running a school bus fleet, and I appreciate what you said about the comfort of bus drivers and how that connects to retention of bus drivers. That's really important. But I do have a technical question for you, sir. Since the last time I was on a school bus, it was a couple years ago. Who's counting? But is it possible to use a seat cover of some kind to make drivers more comfortable in those seats? Or do you really need an entirely different seat without a Kevlar coating?
Yes, ma'am. To put any type of covering over the seat that's required now is a violation of DOT standards. If a DOT inspector comes by the bus and sees that, he will write you a repair order and have you remove that covering right then and there. Same way with, it says on here about tape and repairs. They're very strict on having tape or anything on that seat. Once it cracks, it's got to be replaced. And no covering at all, no blanket, no towel. I got caught several years ago with one of the wood beaded cushions on my seat, and believe me, they will write you a citation.
I see, okay, thank you. And just to make sure I fully understand how the bill will work, will it require school bus operators, school bus, owners or school districts to remove and replace existing driver seats, or just give them the option? And whoever can answer that question.
Yeah, I can probably answer that. So this would give them the option. It would not require them on new buses ordered, which actually does save about $300. It's a very small amount, but saves about $300. And this is per the manufacturers. The manufacturers of the school buses are okay with this. It's not a deal breaker in selling a $150,000 school bus. So they wouldn't have to have it on new buses, and then they can actually pay to have it taken off on current buses if they want. That's up to the school districts, and that's up to the contractors individually. This just doesn't require it on there anymore.
So it's enabling?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you all. It's nice to see both of you again, and you did a great job, Jordan. You can go back and tell your senator. Seeing no other questions, that ends the hearing on Senate Bill, 968. And
Thank you.
do we have a representative from Senator Washington's office with us at all? All right, we'll just go down the list. Okay. Are you with Senator Washington's office? All right, come on up. You can present for Senator Henson then. Thank you so much. If you could just state your name for the record. We will hear Senate Bill 487, Motor Vehicle Speed Monitoring Systems, Safety Corridors, Vulnerable Road User Protection Act of 2026. This should also sound familiar to many of us. Thank you so much, and you may begin.
Good afternoon. My name is Linda Hannafin-Bonner. I'm the Legislative Director for Senator Shanika Henson, representative of District 30 in Anne Arundel County. And she sends her apologies because she was called into another hearing to testify on a bill. And she thanks you for the opportunity to present this information on this particular bill. We respectfully request a favorable with amendments vote on this legislation. We are currently working with SHA on 2 amendments, I think also with your staff, to correct 2 areas within this cross-file legislation. So we feel that with these 2 amendments, it should be a really perfect and super bill. Under this bill, the local jurisdictions may operate speed cameras in designated high-risk corridors, and it's modeled after existing work zone speed camera programs. The revenues that collected will first fund the operational costs, and then any additional funds will be designated to the state highway projects and programs. We believe that with this program and this bill, it will establish clear standards for the placement and operations of speed monitoring systems and ensure that camera deployment occurs in coordination with the appropriate local jurisdictions. And we thank you in advance for a favorable report.
Great, thank you very much. Seeing no questions, that will end the hearing on Senate Bill 487. Do we have anyone from Senator Waldstreicher's office with us? No, all right. Senator James, Delaney James, fabulous. So we'll hear Senate Bill 578, Public Safety Department of State Police, Police-Initiated Towing Alterations. And you may begin whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, and members of the Environment and Transportation Committee. For the record, my name is Arya Viswanathan Ram, a freshman at the University of Maryland, College Park, and I'm one of Senator James' interns this session. I'm here to present Senate Bill 578 on the senator's behalf, and out of respect for your time, I will be brief. As introduced, Senate Bill 578 would simply require the Maryland Department of State Police to set the rates for light-duty towing and recovery in addition to medium and heavy-duty towing. The cross-file of Senate Bill 578 is House Bill 30, which was introduced by Delegate Foley and passed out of the House unanimously after being amended by the Environment and Transportation Committee. The House amendments to House Bill 30 largely mirror the Senate amendments to Senate Bill 578. with the only substantive difference being that the House legislation also shortens the name of the Committee on Rate Setting and Complaint Resolution for police-initiated light-duty, medium-duty, and heavy-duty towing and recovery. Senator James believes this is a good addition to the bill and applauds the committee and subcommittee's work. Thank you for your consideration of Senate Bill 578, and I ask that the committee issue a favorable report with amendments to conform it to its cross-file House Bill 30. Thank you.
Oh, excuse me, thank you so much. You also did a terrific job. Seeing no questions from the committee, that ends the hearing right now of Senate Bill 578, and I see Senator Charles is with us. If you'd like to come up, sir, welcome to the Environment Transportation Committee. And we will hear first Senate Bill 352, Motor Vehicle Special Registration Plates, Old Line Plates, Old Line License Plate Program Act of 2026. And you may begin whenever you're ready, sir.
All right, thank you, and it feels good to be back over here in the House. So good afternoon. Make sure I have everything. Yep. So for the record, I'm Senator Nick Charles representing District 25, and I'm here in support of Senate Bill 352, which establishes the Old Line License Plate Program and a structured auction process for limited numeric-only plates. You've already heard this bill before, so I'll be brief. Since introduction, we have worked closely with the stakeholders and the committee and made significant concessions to move this bill forward. And so most notably, we agreed to cap this program at just 999 plates. And since the introduction, we've worked closely also for that limitation and making it intentional by keeping the supply low. We drive higher demand through auction processes, which increase the revenue potential for the state, and we all know that we need more revenue right now. Those revenues will be directed to three key priorities. One, the Transportation Trust Fund, which we know we need some more resources in the trust fund. We also have money going to the Boys and Girls Club of Maryland and the Chesapeake Bay Trust and the Maryland Agricultural Education Foundation for the Bay tags and for the ag tags. At its core, the bill is simple. We've compromised, we narrowed the program, and at this time, when Maryland faces growing transportation demands and fiscal pressures, Senate Bill 532 offers a voluntary market-based revenue stream, and that does not raise taxes, but instead leverages consumer demand. Once again, it leverages consumer demand to generate sustained funding for critical priorities. For this reason, I respectfully ask for a favorable report on Senate Bill 352. Thank you.
Senator Fraser Hidalgo.
Wow. Just got demoted. Okay.
Delegate Subcommittee Chair Fraser Hidalgo.
Thank you. Senator, it's good to see you. Thank you for coming over. Just a question for the ag tag and the Chesapeake Bay Trust tag. What have you done, what have you done to mitigate that? I know there's been a lot of conversations on this side and a lot more conversations on that side. So that's a big concern of mine just because of what the Chesapeake Bay Trust and the ag, what they're charged with and where they have their revenues. So that's my big curiosity.
So when they reached out to us, and we originally didn't even have them in the bill at all. And so then we added the ag tag and the Bay folks in. We're giving them a percentage, 10% each of the revenue, with the majority of the revenue going to the Transportation Trust Fund. And we originally had it going to 30% going to one of our new agencies. And we ran into a problem with that. They didn't think that was something we should do. And so we had coordination across through the Republican Party, through some of our Purple District folks, and a lot of the folks that had issues with the impact. And we all came to an agreement that we will land on getting the money to the Boys and Girls Clubs of Maryland. So additional revenue, because these folks, they come to us every year asking for dollars as well. So we wanted to make sure we took care of them. But for the ag tag folks, we not only added revenue streams for them, which is an additional revenue that's not there, but we've limited the amount of plates. We originally had 99,999 plates, which would have obviously, it would have been too much for them, so we dropped it off to 999. We were looking to go for at least 10,000, 99,000 plates. but we landed on 999 so we can get everybody's buy-in. So it was a cross-coordinated effort to make sure we got this done. Everybody was happy. Senate President Pro Tem on our side, you know, he helped with the negotiations as well. And, you know, here we are, 999 plates. Hopefully we can generate some revenue for our state at a time where we need to generate revenue. And here's something else for us to do. So I think we came to a great consensus.
All right, thank you.
All right, Senator Jacobs, I did that one on purpose. Delegate Jacobs.
That was a cousin of mine. So, Senator, I'm just curious as to these percentages. I mean, you may have said them, I was writing a bunch of stuff and I didn't catch it, but you said partial funding goes to TTF, some to.
Yeah, 50% goes to Transportation Trust Fund. 30% is going to the Boys and Girls Club of Maryland, which all of our districts have some level of Boys and Girls Club participation. So it's a statewide, it's not and specific to anybody's district. It's statewide, so we can take care of the youngsters with this as well. And then 10% goes to the ag tag folks, and another 10% goes to the Bay folks.
Thank you.
Delegate Grammer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I saw a handful of folks had voted against this, and I just wanted to see what the remaining consternation about the bill was.
I couldn't tell you. I had to ask them.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
That was a great answer. Thank you. Seeing no more questions, that ends the hearing on Senate Bill 352, and we will move on now to Senate Bill 68, Driver's License, Driver Skills Examination, Motorcycle Awareness, D-Torch Road Safety Act. And if you'd like to have your panelists approach, they certainly may.
Okay. I'm bringing up Ms. Jennifer Floyd and Donnell Floyd, the mother and father of D-Torch. For the record, I'm Senator Nick Charles, representing District 25, and I'm here to testify on Senate Bill 68, the D-Torch Road Safety Act, which is unanimously passed the Senate. This legislation is named in honor of Donnell Torch Floyd Jr., whose life was taken far too soon in a crash that should have never happened. His story is not just a statistic, it's a loss that continues to be felt every single day by his family, by his friends, and by his community. Each year in Maryland, there are approximately 1,300 motorcycle-involved crashes. Motorcyclists are among the most vulnerable on our roadways, and too often, these incidents are not the result of recklessness, but of something far more preventable, a lack of awareness. And today, there is a clear gap in how we prepare drivers. The current driver's knowledge test pulls 25 questions from a bank of 138 questions. Yet only 3 of those questions relate to motorcycle safety, and there is no guarantee that even one of those questions will appear on the exam. So that's why we're here today. Today in Maryland, a driver can be licensed without ever being tested on how to safely share the road with the motorcycle. As amended and passed by the Senate, this bill requires that the question pool include at least 5 motorcycle safety questions and ensures at least one of those questions appears on the exam, just one of the questions. Nothing more, nothing burdensome, but just to guarantee that every driver has at least a basic understanding of how to look for, respect, and safely drive alongside motorcyclists. The MVA has already committed to implementing these changes, and we truly appreciate their leadership and their partnership. But policies can change, leadership can change, and when it comes to something as fundamental as safety, we should not leave that progress to chance. This bill ensures that knowledge stays with every future driver in the state of Maryland, because at the end of the day, this is not about adding a question to a test. It's about adding a moment of awareness, a second look before changing lanes, a decision that could mean the difference between someone making it home or not. And that is exactly what this bill is about. And with that, I would like to respectfully ask for a favorable report on Senate Bill 68 and pass it on to D-Torch's mother, Ms. Jennifer Floyd, to share her powerful story and her testimony. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Madam Chair and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to submit my testimony today in strong support of Senate Bill.
Take your time. Take your time. Thank you for being here.
In strong support of Senate Bill SB 0068, the Detroit Road Safety Act. My name is Jennifer Floyd. I am the founder and CEO of the Detroit Foundation, a nonprofit I created after losing my son, Donnell G. Floyd Jr., known as Torch, in the motorcycle community in a motorcycle crash on September the 10th, 2024. Motorcyclists represent a small percentage of vehicles on our roads, yet they account for a disproportionate number of serious injuries and fatalities. The season hasn't even started yet, and I've read and seen about so many riders who have gone down in the state of Maryland already and have lost their lives. In Maryland alone, an average of 77 motorcycle riders and passengers are killed each year, and nearly 1,000 motorcyclists are injured annually. Nationally, motorcyclists are more than 20 times more likely to be killed in a crash than occupants of passenger vehicles because they are far more vulnerable on the roadway. One of the most dangerous places for motorcyclists is intersections, not just in the state of Maryland, but across our country. Many crashes occur not because drivers are reckless, but because they are not properly educated on how to safely share the road with motorcycles. They think they can make it. They think they have enough time. My son did not make it home from one of those intersections. I'm not mad at the person that hit him. He thought he could make it. He survived because he's in a cage. Motorcyclists, they call it a cage, a car cage. But when that rider goes down, most likely they're not going to get back up like my son. Senate Bill SB 0068 addresses this gap directly. It ensures that every new rider in Maryland, every new driver in Maryland is educated and tested through the Motor Vehicle Administration Knowledge Exam on motorcycle safety awareness topics such as visibility, proper lane positioning, safe following distances, and other essential safety principles. This bill is about education, awareness, and prevention. It's not about blame. It promotes a culture of shared responsibility and respect on Maryland roadways, period. Following my testimony, I have included official Maryland Department of Transportation crash data showing motorcycle injury and fatal crashes by county from 2019 through 2023 to illustrate the statewide impact of this issue and the urgent need for SB 0068. This legislation has already passed the full Senate unanimously with strong bipartisan support. Families and communities across Maryland are hopeful that the House will join the Senate in supporting this important step towards safer roadways. But let me be clear on this part. This bill is about more than statistics. It is about our loved ones, mine, yours, and our communities across Maryland. I didn't like the bike, but my son did. So because he liked it, hey, I support him, or supported him. But my son didn't make it home. SB 0068 can help prevent another family from receiving that call. One life lost is one life too many. And we're losing 77 each year. I respectfully ask for a favorable report Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you so much for being with us, and we're so sorry for your loss. It's very difficult to do what you're doing, but it is really important that you're here, and we hear you. So you may continue.
Introduce yourself. Please speak. Yeah, you go ahead. Introduce yourself, man.
Good afternoon. My name is Christina. The bike community knows me as Storm. I've been riding since 2008. As Ms. Jen said, each year I'm losing friends. My friends are now my family. Just this weekend, I had 2 different funerals to go to, 2 different instances, and the year hasn't even started for us. Motorcycle season starts in May. So to already have lost 2 friends, I have a young man here with me today because his dad got a phone call last night that his cousin was hit. Just last night. Driver, again, didn't see him, but they got out and they fled. So he was left on the side of the road and someone else found him. This is not just one instance. Every year, it's the same instance. I myself have been hit 5 times. I currently have a fractured knee that is still healing. I got up. I have too many that have not. And unfortunately, this is why we're here and we're fighting for them. Because this bill will not only honor those that are no longer here with us, but those that are on the road now and those in the future that want to ride. Truck drivers have to take tests to learn about motorcyclists and cars. Motorcyclists, on our tests, we have to know the road safety for cars and motorcycles. Cars don't have the same as everybody else around us. And because they have I don't know mentality, a lot of times they're not liable. And this bill will not only help with the safety of motorcyclists, but also then we can push that liability factor of the drivers not paying attention to everyone else on the road. So I'm also asking for you guys to take a favorable in honor of this bill, in honor of us motorcyclists, because we want to get home.
Thank you so much.
And this is Donnell Floyd. He's not going to speak, the father of Torch, and but he's here in full support. And thank you for being up here.
Thank you all, and again, thank you so much for being here and really trying to change things on behalf of your son and other motorcyclists. I do have on my list let's see, Robert Spamberg. Is he with you today? Okay. Would you like to join the panel? Yes. And then we have one virtual witness after this.
Grab that, Rob.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Madam Vice Chair, members of the committee. My name is Robert Spamberg. I'm the legislative representative and the chairman of the board of ABATE of Maryland. We're the state's largest, and I dare say only, motorcycle rights organization. I've been a member of the organization for 40 years and a licensed motorcyclist for 44 years. And our organizational mantra, I guess, if you will, is education and awareness to increase safety and increase the enjoyment of motorcycling for all motorcyclists in Maryland. I would really like to thank Senator Charles for introducing Senate Bill 0068. I offer my condolences to the Floyd family and commend them for spearheading this effort. And I respectfully request that you all give a favorable vote to Senate Bill 0068 on behalf of ABATE of Maryland, myself, and the members of our organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Is Mr. Trott with us online? All right, sir, you may start whenever you're ready.
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, you may begin whenever you're ready.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the community for taking my testimony. I'm gonna try to do this the best I can. I wrote down so I can do this right. Uh, I've been riding. I've been riding for almost 20 years. And uh, oof, my wife told me just take a deep breath. All right. Okay, let's do this. Donnell, he was my brother. Uh, he was my groomsman. I was his groomsman. He was my best friend. Um, I remember when he first started riding. We it was a few years after me, but one thing I could say about Donnell, he was when it came to riding, it was not just the ride and the thrill and everything like that. It was also um, teaching other riders. It was also safety. It was also gear. It was also, you know, bike checkups and things like that. It wasn't just that stuff. And for this bill to come up, and I personally shoot, man, I don't remember when I got my driver's license, but to have individuals that are learning to drive and get a driver's license on this road, to require them to read over, learn motorcycle safety, study it, the information, learn how to share the road with us. And even with just having one question on the test would actually make everybody really focus and pay attention to the information that's presented. I'm sorry, I'm probably gonna go over, but I'm gonna try my best to really speed it up.
Sure, just go ahead and wrap up and tell, you're doing a great job, and obviously Donnell is very, very much loved. So finish your thoughts and your statements, and
But to if motor drivers, they knew that they had that at least one question would be on the test. It would just make them focus and make actually pay attention to the material and actually learn what it is that we have to go through. And it would also keep a lot of us riders safe. I really do appreciate you guys for taking the time out. And man, I scrapped everything that I wrote, but I was trying. Um,
you did a
Thank you
great
guys.
job, and thank you. We do have some questions for this panel. So Delegate Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Charles, for bringing the bill. And thank you to the Floyd family, Mrs. Floyd, Mr. Floyd, Donnell Floyd. Your testimony is really important. We know it's really hard to do, and here you've had to do it twice in the Senate and here, but we hear you, and your presence matters a lot. Thank you for being here, and to your good friend, to Storm, as well. I find this bill really interesting, and to the sponsor of your panel is really powerful, because one of the images that it's not always visible is the image of Black people who are motorcyclists. There are clubs nationally, there are organized groups of Black Americans who ride, and so that your presence here also helps to lift up the importance, the value of that community that you've created. I wanted to ask the senator a question. In developing this bill, it sounds like one of the most important features, the most important intent of your bill is to teach people who drive to share the road with other users. Was that something that you thought about in decentering cars so that other human beings who use the road can also stay alive? Was it something you thought about?
So let me stop there first and give all credit to Jennifer for bringing this to me. She came forward with this bill. I've known her for some time. She was Council Member Calvin Hawkins in Prince George's County, one of our at-large council members, Chief of Staff. And she said, Nick, I got to get this bill forward. And she came up with this information. And when I saw what was provided, and I didn't think too much about it before because it was so long ago that I got my driver's license that I didn't even remember that they, if I had a question or did not have a question. But the fact that it's not automatically pulled in, I felt that was a huge discrepancy and a problem that we need to address, especially with so many people across the state dying from incidences of cars crashing into them. We want to make sure that we protect folks and keep folks as safe as possible. And so as many new drivers are getting on the road, I think this is very important, taking the information that she brought forward and moving forward. And like I said, the Senate has already passed this unanimously. It's a bipartisan support. So I'm hoping to get all of you guys' support on this bill.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you all again so much. It's so important that you're here. And seeing no other questions for you, that ends the hearing on Senate Bill 68. And we'll go now to Vice Chair Waldstreicher. I see that he's with us. Senate Bill 366, Motor Vehicles Intelligent Speed Assistance System Pilot Program Establishment. And you may begin whenever you're ready, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Good to be back in front of you. Senate Bill 366 has passed the Senate. It is similar to House Bill, it's cross-file House Bill 107 from Delegate Allen. They are in substantially similar position, but they have slight differences that I'm happy to explain to you and council today. First of all, the House added language related to, let me talk about what the bill does. This is the ISA bill, the Intelligent Speed Assist, for super speeders in our community to provide an option that instead of suspending their license, there's a pilot program by which they could have this installed in their vehicle, and so that they can't go vastly beyond the speed limit. This committee, in its wisdom, added language that said if you violate a second time while you're on the program, the clock restarts for being on the program. As Senate sponsor, I can imagine that this would be received favorably by the Senate, and that's good language. The Senate added some language that is not on the House bill. Many of you know Senator Sarah Love, who came from this chamber and now serves on the Judicial Proceedings Committee. She has strong civil libertarian instincts, and that's a good thing. And she wanted to make sure that there were strong data privacy elements to this bill so that this data that is obtained from the device cannot be sold to third parties or shared willy-nilly. And so we added strong data privacy language. So I know sometimes when we're at this point in session, the instinct can be, are we going to take the Senate bill or the House bill? In fact, both bills should be combined into one magic bill that both chambers can support. And with that, Madam Vice Chair, I would ask for a favorable report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. I think there were some other amendments that folks have stepped forward with, separate from what the House and the Senate did. Do you have an opinion on those?
Yep, those are fine by me. As you know, the advocates behind this bill have been contacted by the car manufacturers because this is not an original equipment, and they want to make sure that their liability is limited. We think that's completely appropriate, and any other cleanup language that might be appropriate.
Great, thank you. Thanks for the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Right, seeing no other questions, that ends the hearing. Did I miss somebody? Delegate Grammer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple weeks ago, there was an article that came out that the company that serviced breathalyzer technology got hacked, and the people under that service provider were unable to drive because of that. I just wanted to mention that under this bill. Is there a way to deal with that if the service provider, as specified in the bill, is disabled? You know, are these folks still able to drive? Does the technology still apply? How does that work? Have we thought about that?
So I was unaware of the issue. I did not know that they could be turned off remotely in a way that prevents someone from driving. I'm happy to go back to the advocates and figure that part out.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Wave your hands wildly if you have any more questions. All right, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you so much.
That ends the hearing of Senate Bill 366. All we have left is Senator Washington. I don't see him. Do we have a staff member? Yes, he was here, but he's not here now. So is there a staff member to present for him? All right, front, yes?
He's not immediately outside.
Let me call him.
Okay.
Go to the wide shot.
All right. All right, thank you. That ends the hearing on Senate Bill
No, we haven't.
10.
We haven't had the hearing.
Oh, well, that
ends our hearing.
cancels, that ends our hearings for today. Ends the work at the desk. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I haven't had to do that one before. Thank you so much, everybody. And do we have subcommittee announcements from anyone? No? Delegate Stein? Right. Have a terrific day. Thank you.